And welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon, and today we are doing another revisiting episode. I've done one of these so far last, I think, April. I did a video where I revisited Christopher Pike for the first time in probably 30 years. Now, if you're anywhere around my age, I'm 43, and you love horror, perhaps you also have a long-standing history with Christopher Pike. Or maybe R.L. Stine. I loved them both, but Christopher Pike was the one that really got to me. I think he wrote books a little older than R.L. Stine's. R.L. Stine's tended to be more for, I think, like middle grade, whereas these I found a little scarier. Anyway, so yeah, last spring I wanted to pick one up, and when I went on Amazon to look, there weren't many options. So I got the one that I did the video on, and then I was like, okay, I'll wait a few months and then I'll go back and look again. And now there's a ton. So the one that I picked up to read for this video is Remember Me. And I have memories of reading this one. Now, when I was a kid, I've probably told this story on this channel before, so if you've already heard it, forgive me, but when I was a kid, I had a very special relationship with my local library and my local librarian. There were multiple times in junior high, especially. Junior high was when I was really at the peak of my library loving. Then, you get to high school, you develop new tastes and interests, and the library wasn't quite as important. Although I still went, junior high, it's just, that was the time. And I'd take the bus from school, and I'd get the bus driver to drop me off at the library probably 3 times a week, 2 or 3 times a week for sure. And then my mom would pick me up later. And the librarian there, her name was Diane. And I will never forget her. I will never forget her. And she got to know my tastes, and she'd put books aside for me that she thought I would like. And she was really the beginning of my long love of libraries and librarians. And so she knew I loved Christopher Pike, and she would put his books aside for me when they'd get new ones. And I often think fondly of Diane. Anyway, Remember Me. This story's wacky. So a brief synopsis. There will be spoilers in this video. So I'll give you a brief synopsis first. If you don't want to hear the spoilers, I'll let you know so you can click away. But basically, we have this girl named Shari, and she's 18, and she's dead. We know right off the bat she's dead. She died. We don't know how. We don't know what happened at first. But we know she's dead, and she's a ghost, and she wants to find out what happened to her. She doesn't know. She doesn't know. And so we're first she takes us back to the hours leading up to her death, and then the aftermath, trying to figure out what happened to her. So at the beginning, she's getting ready for a party. Her and all of her friends are going to one of their other friends' birthday parties. And so Shari's getting ready. Her brother's there, and she really loves her brother. He's diabetic, which comes into play later in the story. And he's always very tired, so he's napping. So she's getting ready to go out. Her parents have gone out, and the housekeeper has just arrived. And the housekeeper brought her daughter, and her daughter is kind of seeing Shari's brother. But sometimes she's aloof, hard to get a hold of, things like that. So the daughter and Shari, so the daughter's Amanda, and her and Shari are going to this party, and it's at the party she dies. So then, like I said, it's just trying to get to the bottom of what happened. So if you don't want spoilers, now's the time to go. But I mean, this was published in 1989. Maybe if you haven't read it by now, you're not going to, or maybe you just want to hear about it. So they end up, Shari's boyfriend Dan comes and picks them up. They go and pick up this other girl, Jo. And so Jo is kind of Shari's best friend. They all go to this party. Once they're there, so before they went, Amanda has some cake, which becomes important later. Anyway, they go to the party, and Jo, the girl, Shari's best friend, she's got some ideas after the party starts to fizzle out. and the other people have left, and it's just like the core group of friends. She's like, let's play some games. And so the first game she wants to play is she wants a volunteer to lay on the floor, and then they're gonna like put her in a trance. She's got this like crystal. They're gonna put her in a trance, and then they're gonna ask spirits to answer questions by holding up her legs, and one of her legs, like one of her hips, will rotate if the answer is yes. And she's in a trance, so it's like her subconscious mind and the spirits of the universe answering the questions. Typical like teenager spooky party games, right? So they're doing it, and it's like it's going well. They're getting all these answers, and then eventually Shari's like, or they're going to switch, and then Shari's going to be the one. And so Shari's laying there, and they're doing this thing where they pretend it's her funeral, and it's this whole game. After they play the games, which got a little weird when it was Shari being the one volunteering, like she was saying things and it didn't sound like her voice. And they were kind of trying to contact, because one of the kids at the party, Jeff, his brother had recently died a couple years previous, and they're now trying to contact him and using Shari as the vessel. So after that, like, it gets weird, they stop. A bunch of the kids are going out, like, swimming in the pool. But Shari hadn't been told there was going to be swimming, so she wasn't wearing her bathing suit. So the rest of them go. And she's like, well, I guess I'll just wait in here. So then she goes out on the balcony to talk to this kid named Jeff that lost his brother. This guy's a real dick to her. He's like, I don't like you. Your boyfriend's an asshole, and so are you. So she's like, okay. So then she comes in, and then one of the girls comes back from the party, and she's like, listen, I don't want to have to tell you this, but your boyfriend, Dan, and then the birthday girl, Beth, she's like, they're down in a hot tub together. And Shari's like, what? So then eventually, as people are coming back, Shari runs out to the balcony. And then the next thing, like, all the kids are kind of going in different rooms, bathroom, bedroom. Shari goes out to the balcony. Finally, the other kids go out to the balcony, and they see that she's on the ground dead. Dead. Hence the cover here. Anyway, so they call the cops, obviously, and they're trying to figure out, like, did she jump? Was she pushed? So, of course, we're getting all of this from Shari's point of view. She doesn't know either. Like, she doesn't think she would have jumped. Like, she hadn't gone out there to jump. Like, it makes no sense to her that she would have jumped. So she figures, well, somebody must have pushed me. So then it kind of begins. A lot of it's repetitious of, like, the police officer, Garrett, he's just kind of going around questioning all the kids, right? Which, like, I didn't think you could question kids without their, like, minors, without, oh, wait, no, they weren't minors, I guess, because Shari was 18, so probably they all were 18, which does make more sense, because I was like, how can he be, like, grilling these minors without guardian's presence? But no, I guess they were 18. Well, there, that answered my own question. Anyway, so, yeah, he's going around quizzing, interrogating these kids, getting nowhere, of course. They're like, I didn't do it. And then Shari, after her funeral, in the cemetery, she looks up and she sees another ghost. And it's Peter, the brother of that other kid who died a few years ago. And she's like, oh my God, it's so good to see you. She's just so happy to see him. So he had died in a motorcycle accident. He ran into a truck. So he's like, yeah, I can kind of show you the ropes, because when he finally appeared, she had been, like, begging, like, somebody help me. And then he appeared. So he's like, yeah, you called for me? Here I am. And she's like, oh wow. So he's kind of showing her the ropes, and then she finds out from him that she can talk to people in their dreams, like the living. She can enter their heads if she puts her hands on their heads when they're sleeping. And so she starts doing that. She goes around to every one of those kids and enters their dreams to try to figure out if they killed her. So she starts crossing a few off the list, like her best friend Joe. Joe wakes up from the dream, which had been a nightmare, screaming, crying for her mother. Like, she is distraught. Shari's like, well, wasn't her. Glad to cross her off the list. So then there's this whole thing with shadows. If you're a ghost for too long and you don't cross over, your shadow appears, and it's kind of the darkest parts of you. And Peter's really terrified of his. And Sherry is of hers too at first, but eventually she's kind of like, what does it want? Because it's let me see what it wants. And so she spends some time with her shadow and realizes that it's not as bad as she thought, and it's just kind of showing her step by step her life. And when it takes her back to being a baby, now this is where things really start to go off of the rails in this book. Like it gets a little silly, but so the shadow takes her back to when she was a baby. And she realizes through a memory that she hadn't had consciously before, that when she was an infant, like days old, she was switched in the hospital with another baby. Okay, you following me? And then as her memories are coming to her, she realizes that she was switched by or with Amanda, the daughter of the housekeeper. And she's like, what? So she starts to try to piece it together, and she knows that Amanda's mom and Joe's dad had an affair. Okay, broke up both the families. So the reason she had switched the babies at birth, I guess, was so that she wouldn't have the affair baby. She'd have this other baby. See what I mean? So now we're trying to figure out. So she's like, oh my God, was it Amanda? Did Amanda push me with some sort of weird vindictive need to get rid of me so she could be the only, does she know that we were switched at birth? And she's dating my brother, which is actually her brother. So she's having this incestuous relationship with her own brother. It's a lot. So as time goes on, we find out that yes, it was Amanda. Amanda did push her. And so now, the cop finds it out because he remembers seeing footprints at the scene, and then he goes to Amanda's house to check her room, and then he sees her shoes have the dust stuff on it that was tracked throughout the house. And he found that stuff on the roof. So he knew that she went out to the balcony, pushed her, then went up on the roof and went over to the other side of the house. She was just coming in the house after having been swimming. And it's wild. And then oh my God, yeah. So then, while they're waiting for the cops, okay, so the cop starts to piece it all together. He's like, is Amanda home? And they're like, no, she's gone for a sleepover. And he's like, where? And they're like, oh, to a friend's house. And he's like, whose? I need to talk to her right now. So he eventually deduces that she's spending the night at Jimmy's house. So Jimmy is Shari's brother. So Amanda and Jimmy are over at Shari's house. So the cop's rushing over there because he's worried that Jimmy's in danger. So Peter and Shari are like, hey, we gotta beat him over there. We gotta move it. So they fly because they can project themselves. They can appear places just by using their minds. So she manages to fly because she doesn't like just appearing because she's afraid she's going to end up in the wall and not be able to get out. So they get over to the house, and of course they're ghosts, nobody can see them, but they see Jimmy and Amanda because the parents are gone away for the weekend. Jimmy and Amanda are lounging in bathrobes in the living room. She's got the fire going. They're all propped up on pillows. She's like, listen, I know you're diabetic. And he's like, how do you know? Because he's tried to keep that from his friends. And she's like, oh, Shari told me. I'm diabetic too. She's like, how about I give you an insulin shot, and then you give me an insulin shot, and then we get down to business. And he's like, well, I don't know if I need an insulin shot. I'm just kind of tired. I just kind of want to go to bed because I got to work in the morning. And she's like, oh, you're not going anywhere in the morning. He's like, what do you mean? And then she's like, listen, I'm going to give you an insulin shot. He's like, okay, damn, settle down. So she goes to the bathroom. She gets the insulin shot. Now, I don't know much about insulin, but she told him she was going to give him 10 units. But she pulls up 100 units. And then she takes another needle that's for her, but she puts an air bubble in it instead. So she goes down, gives him the insulin. Instantly, he is very tired. He's having an insulin fit. he's like shaking, and she tells him, I gave you 100 units. And he's like, why did you do that? Why did you do that? And she's like, well, now in a minute, I'm going to put this air bubble in your veins and you're going to die. And then I'm going to kill myself. So I guess she wants to take out all 3 of them. She's done. So Shuri, the ghost, is there. She's like, oh my God, Garrett, that's the police officer. She's like, he needs to hurry. So this is just going to keep getting wilder. But here we go. Here's the conclusion. So Peter's like, well, you can kind of take over someone's body. So she's like, great. You take over her body, get that syringe away from my brother and put it in her own veins and kill her. Peter's like, I'm not doing that. Okay, I'm not doing that. That's murder. And she's like, well, she's going to murder my brother. Even if he isn't my brother. He's my brother. You know what I'm saying? So then he's like, okay. So he tries to do it. He tries to get the needle away from her. And then it's this whole back and forth. And then the cop finally arrives. And but before the cop arrives, Shari somehow gets into the needle. Okay? She's not able to get into a body, but she can get into the needle. So she's going to go in there and try to pop the air bubble. And while she's in there, it gets pushed in. So now she's in there still trying to pump the air bubble. And Jimmy's heart stops. And she's like, oh no. So then Jimmy appears as a ghost. And now they're both inside the air bubble. Oh my God, you guys, my allergies are so bad tonight. My eyes are watering, all of it. Okay. They're both in the air bubble. And she's like, we can't pop it. Because we have hate in our heart for Amanda for killing me and trying to kill you. She's like, we need to forgive her and then we can pop the bubble. And Jimmy's like, am I dead? And she's like, yes, but it's only been a few seconds. I think we can turn this around. And so they do. They pop the bubble. They put forgiveness in their heart for Amanda. Pop that bubble. Jimmy goes back to his body. Then Shari comes back out. There's Peter, who's just had a showdown with his shadow in the meantime. The police officer finally arrives, just as Amanda is trying to burn the house down. And Garrett pulls Jimmy's body out. Amanda gets arrested. Off they go. So then Shari's like, I'm not quite ready to cross over yet. I want to just hang out for a bit and see what's going to happen with all these people. Then the epilogue is even more bonkers bananas. So Shari's parents, instead of being mad at Amanda, are happy that they still have a daughter that's alive. They're like, oh, we thought our daughter died. Nope, that was our fake daughter. We still have this one. And then they even find the best lawyer to defend her for killing Shari. And it's like, okay, but just the way it's written, it's like, oh, they moved on. They're like, Shari, don't know her. This is our daughter. And then it's like, oh, Jimmy forgave Amanda too. He's just glad he's got a sister again. It was crazy. The epilogue is unhinged. Just how everyone was like, oh, we thought our daughter/sister was dead. That was a fake one. We got the real one back now. Crazy. So then in the end, her and Peter cross over. They realize they've been in love and were in love back in the day. And they cross over together and get to be in heaven or whatever. The beautiful place where they get to go. So there you go. That was Remember Me by Christopher Pike. I saw this as a trilogy. I don't know if I read the other two when I was a kid. Maybe. Anyway, I didn't remember a single thing about this when I started reading it, and it was very interesting. I'm glad I reread it. No matter how crazy it is, it kept my attention. I couldn't wait to see what happened. Anyway, there we go. If you like this series, let me know, and maybe in a few months we'll do a part 3 of revisiting. Or maybe I could revisit a different author. Who knows? who knows? Anyway, if you loved Christopher Pike when you were a kid, let me know what was your favorite, because maybe I'll get that one next. And I will see you guys again very soon. Thank you so much for watching, as always. If you made it to this point, leave I guess the ghost emoji would be the most fitting. And subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up, that helps me a ton. And subscribe to the members if you would like to be a part of the members only book club. This month we are reading Six Crows by Leigh Bardugo, and we'll be doing our book club chat on February 15th, and we would love to have you join us. So, we'll see you again soon, guys.